Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurina Nabila binti Mustafa, matric number 257135. I would like to present about landlocked countries. Landlocked countries or LLC are countries that lack of access to the sea. They have to face the bigger challenges of development and limited access to international market. Over 40 countries have been recognized as the country that do not border an ocean. Kazakhstan is the largest landlocked country in the world, while the smallest is Vatican City. There are two nations that are completely surrounded by other landlocked countries, which are Liechtenstein and Uzbekistan. These two nations are called double landlocked, and they need to cross an entire country if they want to access to an ocean. Okay, next is challenges of landlocked country. Remoteness of the landlocked country to the trade routes and limited access to the sea are the biggest challenge that they need to face. This poor geographical region or location have significant effect on development of a country. This country unable to freely transport goods and products from origin point to the final point due to the delay and involvement of high transaction costs. Transaction costs will exist when transporting the item or products. Transaction costs represent the cost for the labor needed to move the item or bring the service to market. Custom and handling when item or goods are transported across a border. Therefore, landlocked country is more likely to raise the price of import to cover the transaction costs and will reduce the price of export. Landlocked country may import less or engage in inefficient import substitution and export less due to this problem. Thus, landlocked countries suffer declining of trade and has to face reduction income.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Amar bin Maskury. So I will present about the linkages of logistic network in landlocked countries. So the importance of linkages to landlocked countries is it will helping the development of landlocked countries. Then it is a significant relationship between the good linkages will affect the country's development. Then these linkages will increase the productivity for the economic and social of a landlocked country. The emerging of global value chain lead to the changes in transportation technology and remove barrier for trade for most of landlocked countries. And it reduce the cost for having access to the transit countries or neighboring seaport. So there are three main components of linkages. The first one is the infrastructure. Second one is about the facilities of landlocked countries. The third is about the information communication technology in landlocked countries. I believe that these main three components of linkages is important to develop the landlocked countries. So infrastructure in landlocked countries. So OECD has announced that infrastructure is a critical ingredient economic growth for the landlocked countries. Besides, infrastructure also give efficiency and effectiveness in landlocked countries in all sectors. So the infrastructure involving the landlocked countries is associated with risk, high investment, and complex structure. And the transportation infrastructure plays a vital role in industrialization of a country that affected by the regional innovation, manufacturing productivity, and the factor reallocation of transport infrastructure. So, in infrastructure, there are two infrastructure that I will explain today. The first one is about the road network and highways. The road network and highways in landlocked countries is the main commercial for trading activities. So this road network and highway is a cost and time that need to be bear for the landlocked countries. For example, the overview of road infrastructure in African continent, development of Trans-African Highway Network give the efficiency and effectiveness for the landlocked in African continent to import and export their goods. So the road network and highways will increase the growth in economic and trade sector. So for the rail infrastructure in landlocked country is one of the potential solution in solving the problem regarding the landlocked countries. So rail infrastructure provide economy of scale to transfer cargo from a landlocked countries to the nearby port or transit countries. So rail infrastructure will reduce cross-border complexity and it will facilitate a long-haul journey. For example, Kazakhstan has the largest rail network. It's about 14,767 kilometers, and Kazakhstan almost is one of the best rail infrastructure in a landlocked country. So challenges challenges in developing the infrastructure in landlocked countries, there are three challenges. The first one is about quality of transport infrastructure. Second one is lack of link for regional integration. The third one is infrastructure financing in landlocked countries. The infrastructure financing in landlocked countries is usually associated with the poor countries, such as in the landlocked countries in African continent. The second linkages that I will explain is about facilities in landlocked countries. The effectiveness of operation is depend and rely on the facilities of a landlocked countries. The initiative of developing and upgrading facilities management is being made towards the landlocked countries. So the importance of facilities in landlocked countries is about the public distribution facilities that facilitate about the trading activities. For example, I'm taking Nepal as a landlocked country. It does not develop because it has a poor transit facilities, and it will influence the economic growth of Nepal. So for the third linkages, the third component of linkages is information communication technology in landlocked countries. Information communication technology in landlocked country is a complement to all sector of industry in landlocked countries. The internet connection and mobile communication will promote the economic growth to the landlocked countries. So using the ICT in landlocked countries is a convenience way between the business and the organization of landlocked country to interact. Issues that being addressed by ICT to the challenges of landlocked country. The first one is facilitating social and economic development of trade and transport. The second one is reducing the administrative costs connecting a long distance port. The third one is solving the issues of complex documentation. The fourth one is it provides the harmonization for regional integration between the transit countries. So lastly, ICT will reduce the complexity of customs declaration in landlocked countries. So the role of ICT in landlocked country is, the first role is about it facilitating the trade activities. The second one is enabling the evolution in landlocked countries. The third one is implementation of e-government in landlocked countries. Next is about the interconnection of transport in landlocked countries. The interconnection is defined as a set of rules needed for technicalities and operational arrangement for both parties connected in network. So the carrier selection management in landlocked countries is based on the quality of transport network and the process structure and the flow of transportation. There are five characteristics influence the carrier selection management in landlocked countries. The first one is market structure. The second one is about product characteristic. The third one is about customer. The fourth one is about company characteristic. And the last one is about the environment of the landlord itself. So there are alternative transport in landlocked countries, as the first one is rail transport. So as we all know that rail transport in landlocked countries is undeveloped transport, or we call as underived capability, because most of the landlocked country did not use the maximum capacity, the maximum ability of rail transport in their landlockedness to as a solution for the main road transport. This rail transport also provide the economy of scale for the cargo freight that will transfer from the landlocked countries to the transit countries or neighboring port. So the second alternative transport in landlocked countries is about the air freight market in landlocked countries. So air freight market in landlocked countries is a niche market that we use in landlocked countries, and it also not a significant transport that being used in landlocked countries. The third alternative transport in landlocked countries is inland waterway transport. The inland waterway transport has provide a free natural infrastructure to the landlocked countries. For example, Nepal has 45,000 kilometer length of waterway, but Nepal is undeveloped countries because the poor infrastructure and poor maintenance of inland waterway transport.
Sustainability of logistic network for landlocked countries. These countries are at significant economic disadvantage because of their geographic remoteness, lack of access to the sea, and higher transport costs for both export and import. landlocked countries to improve their prosperity and overcome their poverty, it is urgently for them to participate more productively in world sustainable development and global trade, as well as enhance integration in the global economy. Sustainable transport system and infrastructure are the factors that lead for landlocked countries to achieve sustainability for a better future. Okay, next is transportation development. There are three main points of transportation development. First, transport planning in landlocked countries. Transportation planning facilitates in improving the quality life of the society and economic growth. It gives a big impact on the area economically and socially. Improving transport planning not only reduces congestion, but it also attracts businesses and jobs which in return help the development of economy. However, transportation planners in landlocked countries are mostly have to face challenges in implementing the model due to the serious shortage of budget. Second, transportation and geography. Landlocked developing countries are left far behind from almost every other countries in terms of transport infrastructure. Landlocked countries do not have direct access to the sea, which make it difficult for them to undergo export and import activities by water transportation. Overall, despite the progress in some of the landlocked countries, more is required to establish a transit route network that improves the connectivity of the landlocked countries to the international market. Lastly is terminal development in landlocked countries. Landlocked country is a country that is entirely surrounded by land and has no direct access with the ocean and its borders. A landlocked country has a geographic obstacle where it is distant from the seaport, thus make it hard for them to access to maritime transport. Most landlocked countries have practiced dry port with custom procedures that are carried out at dry port. Because dry ports are the only ways that can connect it to the seaport with efficient rail network. This is the economic tool that able to minimize the maritime transport access challenges and improving economic growth as well as competitiveness of landlocked country. Issue and challenges in sustaining the transportation in landlocked developing countries. First is rail transportation. Rail makes landlocked countries overcome the higher freight rates, but the poor financial condition of railways has resulted in maintenance delay, infrastructure that is weak and speed limit and frequent breakdowns due to the aging track, which eventually will reduce the capacity and ability to meet demand. Next is road transport. Road transport is the main transportation used in landlocked countries. In sustaining the transportation, landlocked countries have to face the issue related to climate change. Climate change may affect the structure of the road and will disturb the smooth movement of the goods to the customer. Lastly is the dry port. Major challenges in sustaining the dry port include high costs for maintaining the efficiency of the facility. There are insufficient of efficient logistic facility and support system from all parties as well as lack of skilled manpower. Handling and monitoring dry port needs someone that is skilled so that the dry port can function well and serve its purpose properly.
Okay, next to my phase, which is mobility and accessibility of landlocked country. So first, what is mobility and accessibility? Mobility is the movement of individuals or transportation in and out from one place to another. And accessibility is the degree levels that allow an individuals or objects to access locations or activities of their daily activities through the usage of mix of transportation modes. Next is transportation accessibility in landlocked country. So they have many advantages of having accessibility in landlocked countries, which one of them is to take advantage of coastal country routes to benefit from expanded funding and innovations, which can benefit them to expanding fund and innovation to boost their country's transportation in order to access newly engaging global supply chain. And then the third one is to increase their inclusions in the world economy and getting them off poverty. And moving to the next point, which is the effect of lack of accessibility in landlocked country. So we have two effects, which is the economic development problem and then the dependence on the neighbor country. So in economic aspects, economic challenge may emerge because of the trade restriction that could lead to a significant drag to the development of economy, and also economic contraction due to the lack of access to the ports for their export and import activities. And then landlocked country may find themselves their foreign trade to be dependent on the neighboring country because they rely on transport network of their neighbors, strong cross-border political relations, and much more factors in conjunction to their lack of accessibility to seaports. Okay, next, moving on to the trading of landlocked country. So first, we make comparisons between both trading in landlocked country versus the trading in the country with a direct sea coastal access. So first, as we can see in the figure, as per doing business ranking, landlocked country face high export times and costs, about double or twice the respective coastal economy activities costs and times. So the lack of direct exposure to the sea and being isolated, distance from international markets, and high cost of transportation faced by these landlocked developing countries puts a serious restrictions on their general economic growth. And on the figure 2, which is based on the 10 market regulation metrics that measure the time and the expenses. So we can see that the coastal country have the easiest and convenience process in starting up a business until the process of ending up a business, to be compared to the landlocked developing countries process, which took more time and expenses. Next is trade problem in landlocked country. So we have 4 listed problems here, which is landlocked developing countries is excluded from the large network of transportation because of the shortage of easy access to the sea or to the ports. Second is foreign trade relies on other countries that transiting through. So their export and import trade have to rely on other countries that passing through their countries. And then geographical range that affect a long distance to the world markets. And then landlocked developing countries also rely wholly on the administrative procedure and infrastructure of their transiting neighbors countries to make delivery of their goods to the ports. So foreign direct investment, or else known as FDI, is able to reform or improve the economies of landlocked developing countries through playing the crucial role in resource-rich landlocked developing countries. Second is to be able to modernize and productive production availability. So which is allowed these landlocked developing countries to gain a significant benefits. And then third and the last point is to improve the landlocked developing countries' real per capita income. And this is actually have been proved by a research that see from $361 in the year of 2000s to $811 in 2007. So it took only 7 years to increase nearly to $400 real per capita income of landlocked developing countries through foreign direct investment. Moving on to the last part of this assignment, which is the export and import in landlocked countries. So as we can see from the figure above, shows that the arrangement of export for the previous group is profoundly moved in few sector, which represented around 75% of their complete export activities in the year 2014. And then move to the figure below, the last Asian landlocked countries have nearly increasingly different portfolios with solid export in essential items such as woods, metal, fuel, which mutually bookkeeping total up to 65% of all export activities for landlocked developing countries in Asians alone. So that is all from me. Thank you.